Okay, here we go with the Rule 2 test. Question 1. A player who initiates contact against a defenseless player is responsible for making legal contact. Winning question, a player is defenseless. Examples of a defenseless player include, and we have 5 examples and an all of the above choice. 232.16 is our rule reference, so let's take a look at that. Rule 2. Section 32 and Article 16. A defenseless player is a player who, because of his physical position and focus of concentration, is especially vulnerable to injury. A player who initiates contact against a defenseless player is responsible for making legal contact. When in question, a player is defenseless. This is a big emphasis in the last few years, guys, defenseless players and legal contact with them. So every one of these listed here is an example of a defenseless player. There's a few more on this list. Know these. It's very important to understand when a player is defenseless. So the answer to this one is F, all of the above. Question 2. On a run around the right end, a linebacker dives to tackle the runner. The runner jumps feet first over the airborne linebacker and continues running downfield. The runner has committed a hurdling foul. And the rule reference is 2-22, which is the definition for hurdling. Hurdling is an attempt by a player to jump, hurdle, with one or both feet or knees foremost over an opponent who is contacting the ground with no part of his body except one or both feet. Whew. Okay, what is that really telling us? So a hurdle has to be, well, think of a track runner running hurdles where the foot is out in front, foremost of the body, or both feet are foremost out in front of the body, like a long jumper. That is a hurdle. A dive, which is a head first or hands and then head first over a player, is not a hurdle. Okay, so there has to be, those feet have to be out in front of the body. That's the first requirement. The second requirement is that the opponent has to have one or both feet on the ground and no other part of his body, not his hand, nothing else can be contacting the ground in order for this to be a foul for hurdling. So again, player on the ground, player airborne. If he doesn't have one or both feet on the ground and nothing else touching the ground, and the runner goes over 1 foot or both feet forward of the body, then we have a hurdle. In the case of this question, the linebacker is airborne, so this question is false. Question number 3. Blocking below the waist, which is normally a foul, is permitted in the free blocking zone if all players involved in the blocking are on the line of scrimmage, in the zone at the snap, the contact is in the zone, and the ball has not left the zone. I will tell you right off the bat that that is the definition of a legal block in the free blocking zone. What is the free blocking zone? If we go to 2-17, the free blocking zone is a rectangular area extending laterally 4 yards either side of the spot of the snap. So from the ball, 4 yards to either side, and that's the requirement that it says here that that they're on the line of scrimmage and in the zone of the snap, because you could be on this line of scrimmage and be outside that 4 yard limit either side of the ball, and you could not be legally blocked below the waist. A player is in the free blocking zone when any part of his body is in the zone of the snap. And down here we see a little pictogram of the free blocking zone. All these players that you see highlighted are in the free blocking zone and are therefore eligible, or it's legal to block offense or defense below the waist as long as the ball is still in the zone. Once the ball has left the zone, this zone disintegrates, and those blocks below the waist are no longer legal. These blocking below the waist in the free blocking zone typically occurs at the snap, and it has to be generally 99% of the time the quarterback has to be under center. If he's in a shotgun or pistol formation, then most of the time there can't be illegal. I don't want to get into this. We have other videos about free blocking zone, but just understand that this is the basic alignment that's required for a block below the waist to be legal in the free blocking zone. So the answer to question number 3 is true. Question 4, legal blocking in the back in the free blocking zone requires only that all players in the zone be in the zone at the snap and that the ball be in the zone when the block is made. And we just talked about the requirements for block below the waist. The same requirements are for block in the back. The answer to this question is false, and you might think it's because it lacks contact in the zone, but the question implies contact, and really what it leaves out is that all the offensive linemen are on the line of scrimmage. So a bit of a trick question, but it's false. Question 5, the free blocking zone is a rectangular area extending laterally 4 yards either side of the spot of the snap and 3 yards behind each line of scrimmage. And that is the exact definition of the free blocking zone. That is true. Question 6. A loose ball is out of bounds when it touches anything or anyone that is out of bounds. Rule 2-29-3. I'm going to take a minute here to show you some of the features of the electronic rule book. If we go to Find, up here, in Word, click on Headings, we're going to see, I'm going to collapse all the headings, we're going to see all the different rules listed here. If we expand the rule 2, scroll down to Rule 29, Article 3, which is the rules reference that was in the question, we get a loose ball is out of bounds when it touches anything, including a player or a game official that is out of bounds. Okay, so that's great. But do we all understand what a loose ball is? If you don't, you can hover over that term if it has that blue underline and it's in blue script, and you'll see the beginning of the definition. If you want to see the entire definition, you go to your keyboard, you hold the control key down like it says, and then you see the little I bar turns into a hand. Click on that. It takes us to the definition. A loose ball is a pass, fumble, or kick. The terms pass, fumble, or kick are sometimes used as abbreviations when the ball is loose, blah, 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 blah. And there's the entire definition. And you'll notice there's a couple of more definitions in this one. In flight is a loose ball which has not yet touched the ground, is in flight. And possession, what is possession? And you could go down and read the entire definition and the case, if there are any case book references around that. If we want to get back to where we were when we do this clicking, these hyperlink clicks, hold the Alt key down on your keyboard and hit the cursor that's pointed to the left, and it will take you right back to that spot that you were in the book. So, for the purposes of our test, that question is true. Okay, question 7. A loose ball play includes action during a backward pass, including the snap, an illegal kick or fumble made by Team A from in or behind the neutral zone prior to a change of team possession, and includes the run or runs which precede such backward pass, illegal kick, or fumble. Now, I don't like questions like this because it's misleading. Someone could mark this false because this isn't the complete definition of a loose ball play, but the test maker gets away with it because he says a loose ball play includes action, which means that as long as these things are all components of a loose ball play, then this question is true, which it is. This is true. We can look at 233 to see what the definition of a loose ball play is. Loose ball play is action during a free kick, those are your kickoffs, or a scrimmage kick, that's your punts and field goals. Other than post-scrimmage kick fouls, don't worry about that. It also includes a legal forward pass, which isn't listed here, but here we have the things that are listed. A backward pass, including the snap, an illegal kick or fumble made by A from in or behind the neutral zone prior to a change of team possession, and the run or runs which precede such legal or illegal kick, legal forward pass, backward pass, or fumble. And again, they've excluded the legal forward pass and legal kick from this question, but the question is true. But I'm a big believer that these test questions should teach you something. So why do we care what a loose ball play is? Now, there's a really good reason, okay, and that has to do with penalty enforcement. So if we go over here and I go to Section 10, Enforcement of Penalties, we go to Types of Plays. There are two types of plays. There are loose ball plays and there are running plays. You can see Article 2 down here, a running play and a loose ball play. And there's the same definition we just saw. And why is this important? Because of enforcement. Okay? The basic spot is the enforcement spot. So the basic spot is the previous spot for a foul which occurs simultaneous with a snap or free kick. For a foul which occurs during a loose ball play, so that's important. So the basic spot is the previous spot. The previous spot is where the ball was snapped from. Okay? If the play is considered a running play, the basic spot is a spot where the related run ends for a foul which occurs during a running play. So that means that if we're going to enforce a penalty on a play that we've deemed a running play, then we are going to add the yardage for the penalty yardage to the end of the run. And that's why this is significant, why you need to know what a loose ball play is versus a running play. And we are going to talk a lot about this, but I just want to give you an introduction to it and help you understand why this is important. Question 8. The free blocking zone disintegrates, and the exception for a player to block below the waist and or the exception for an offensive lineman to block in the back does not continue after the ball has left the zone. 217-5, that's not right. It's 217-4. The free blocking zone disintegrates, and the exception for a player to block below the waist and or the exception for an offensive lineman to block in the back is not to continue after the ball has left the zone. All right, that's true. Moving on. Question 9. Defenseless player provisions do not apply to a passer until a legal forward pass is thrown. The passer continues to be a defenseless player until the pass ends or he moves to participate in the play. That is part of a sort of new rule. This more of a clarification of the defenseless player rule regarding a quarterback, and that is true. All right, question 10. During a sweep around the end, a pulling guard makes initial contact with a linebacker's hands, which are below his waist. The guard then slides down and completes the block below the linebacker's knees. Is that legal, or is that an illegal block below the waist? And the rule references 237. So let's take a look over here at 237. Blocking below the waist is making initial contact below the waist from the side, front or side, against an opponent other than the runners. So, of course, the runner can be contacted below the waist. That's a tackle. Contact with an opponent's hands below the waist that continues into the body below the waist is considered blocking below the waist. Blocking below the waist applies only when the opponent has one or both feet on the ground. Okay, so just to clarify that last statement, so if an opponent jumps in the air and then is hit below the waist by the blocker, that is not blocking below the waist. He has to have one or both feet on the ground. Anyway, so here's a couple of pictograms that basically describe the very scenario we're talking about. As you can see here, contact with the opponent's hands below the waist that continues into the body is considered blocking below the waist. So the answer to question 10 is B. This is an illegal block below the waist. Question number 11. Team A, 1st and 10 at their own 20. The runner advances to the 30, where he is hit and fumbles. While the fumble is in flight, in other words, it's in the air, a defensive player bats the ball towards his own goal line. Another defensive player catches the ball at the A34 and is tackled immediately. Okay, so we have three choices here. We've got A, 1st and 10 at the A45 after the penalty for illegal batting. B is A, 1st and 10 at the A30 where the player fumbled, or C, 1st and 10 B team 1st and 10 at the A34 where the B player was tackled. All right. So what is batting? Well, batting is intentionally slapping or striking the ball with the arm or hand. That's it. That's a bat. What's illegal batting? Well, we go down to Rule 9. No player shall bat a loose ball. Remember loose ball? Pass, fumble, or kick. So we have a fumble here. So far he can't do that, right? Other than a pass or a fumble in flight. Ooh, in flight. A loose ball which has not yet touched the ground is in flight. So the question says while the fumble is in flight. So looks like he can do it. So this prohibition against batting, basically, if the ball hasn't touched the ground, generally speaking, batting is okay. It can be batted. I mean, you can think of a lot of practical examples of this. A lineman jumps and hits bats a ball that's been thrown by the passer. In this case, it's a fumble, but it's still in the air. So this is a legal play. And so B recovered that bat and was tackled on the 34. So we should have C, B 1st and 10 at the A34. Question 12. Now this question deals with the goal line, probably the most important line in the game of football. And there are some real nuances to the goal line, believe it or not. And we're going to talk about those in this question. So A's ball, 3rd and 6 on the B8. So they've got to get to the 2 for a first down. They've got to get to they've got 8 yards to get to a touchdown. The runner is nearer the sideline. At the B2, he dives for the goal line, but is hit by a defensive player. The ball breaks the plane of the goal line extended, but the airborne runner lands out of bounds. What do we have? Is it a touchdown? Do we have A, 1st and goal at the 2? Do we have A, 1st and goal at the yard line where the foremost point of the ball crossed the sideline? Okay, we're going to take a look at the rule. The rule, the definition of the goal line is 226-3. We're going to look at that. And we're also going to look at the casebook entry 226-3 Part B. All right. So we'll go over to the rule book here. Here's 226-3. The goal line is a vertical plane which separates the field of play from the end zone. That's a real simple statement, but it's got tons of implications. So the goal line is a vertical plane, which means it goes up into the sky as high as humanly possible. It starts at the front edge of the goal line. In other words, the end zone starts at the front edge of the goal line. And the way to think about this, Chris Coit, who is now in the Pac-12, was a mentor of mine when I first started, and Chris always analogized the goal line as a waterfall, a beautiful, straight, perfectly straight waterfall that goes up into the sky, and if the ball got wet, any part of the ball got wet, in other words, it pierced that waterfall, then we have a touchdown. And the same is true for the line to gain, by the way. If you think of the line to gain as a vertical plane as a waterfall, that ball gets wet, then we have a first down. But I digress. Okay, so we're talking about goal lines. So let's continue with the definition. Now, when the goal line is related to a live ball in the runner's possession, in other words, touching in bounds, while the ball is over the out of bounds area. So look at this picture down here. That's the scenario they're describing. The runner's in bounds, the ball is out of bounds. In that case, the goal line includes the extension beyond the sidelines. So the goal line is extended outward this way. So even though this ball is out of bounds, this is a touchdown because the ball is crossing the goal line extended. And then there's this is sort of a notation here, when the rules refer to a team's own goal line, it's the goal line they're defending, not the one that they are attacking. All right. Now, the other part of this rules reference is down here in this case study. And here you see it. Runner A is advancing towards B's goal line and is very near the sideline. And there's two scenarios here. We're going to go to B. A1 dives toward the end zone but is hit by B1, which causes him to land out of bounds beyond the goal line extended. A1's last contact with the ground was short of the goal line. So it's very similar to the rules question that we had. What's the ruling? Here we see it right here. Since A1 was not touching in bounds and was short of the goal line when he was hit, it is not a touchdown, even though the ball did break the goal line plane extended. The ball is spotted at the inbound spot on the yard line where the foremost point of the ball crossed the sideline plane when A1 was driven out of bounds. What does that mean? That means, as officials, we have to decide where the ball, the front of the ball, broke the sideline, and that is the spot of our next play. So for the purposes of our question, the answer is C. A, first and goal at the yard line where the foremost point of the ball crossed the sideline. Question 13. Team A, 2nd and 8 on the B38. After Team A has been set for 1 second, 3 interior linemen move from a 2-point stance to a 3-point stance. At the same time, a tailback goes in motion. The ball is snapped while the tailback is still moving. Is it A, a live ball foul for an illegal shift? Is it B, a live ball foul for illegal motion? Or C, a dead ball foul? I hope you all know what the dead ball fouls are at this point. Encroachment, delay of game, and false start. So this is not a dead ball foul, so we'll rule C out. So it's a live ball foul for an illegal shift or illegal motion. 239 refers to illegal shift, so I'm guessing this is an illegal shift. Let's look and see what a shift is. A shift is the action of one or more offensive players who, after a huddle or after taking set positions, move to a new set position before the ensuing snap. So basically that means that anytime a player moves to a new position after a huddle, so when we break a huddle, that's a shift. Or after taking set positions and then moving to another position, then they move to a new set position, that's a shift. Now, if they continue moving, that's motion. That's the difference. There's other differences, but so the shift, the people moving come set. 726 says, after a huddle or shift, all 11 players of A shall come to an absolute stop and shall remain stationary simultaneously without movement of hands, feet, or head or body for at least 1 second before the snap. So, in this question, we have 3 interior linemen moving along with the tailback in motion. So, since more than one of them was moving at the same time, they all have to come to a stop for a stationary stop for at least 1 second. The tailback didn't do that, so we've got a live ball for an illegal shift.